Yes, good morning, everyone. We will start with our today's session. Today, we will be taking up a new topic called as rights of shareholders that we will be taking up for discussion. Before that, yesterday we had discussed about risk management. We had discussed about the principles of risk management, where we discussed the general four principles of risk management, as well as we discussed the internal control mechanism. What is internal control mechanism and what is external control mechanism under risk management, that we discussed yesterday. Today we will be discussing about the rights of shareholders. So shareholders, we all know that shareholders are the individuals, or it may be the companies that legally owns the share or a joint stock of a company. So it can be a single person, it can be a company as a whole, which is owning or the shares of another company. So that particular person or people are called as shareholders. So we have also discussed that shareholders can jointly be called the owners of the company. There are certain rights given to shareholders. What those rights are under Companies Act 2056 as well as 2013, what those rights are, that we will be discussing. But before starting with discussion related to the rights given to the shareholders, we will discuss in brief what are the rights given to the customers, what are the rights given to society at large, what are the rights given to employees who are working for the company, and what are the rights of the governing body. In brief, we will discuss about these rights of these these four stakeholders, and then we will move on to the rights of shareholders. So we will start with the rights given to the customers who will be purchasing the finished product or finished goods of the company, whether they are being given any rights under Companies Act. Generally, we all know that customers are given certain rights under Consumer Protection Act 1986. But there are some rights which are provided to the customers in Companies Act as well. What those rights are, that we will be taking up for discussion. Now, the first right given to customer that we will be discussing is related to the first right of customers to ensure high quality product at affordable and fair price. That is the first right given to the customer, to ensure high quality product. That means it is right of the customer to have a good quality product from the company at affordable price, affordable and fair price. Affordable, we all know what is the meaning of affordable, that it should be affordable to the customer. If the company is into, say, electrical appliances, company is manufacturing ceiling fans, table fans, and other electric appliances, then those electric appliances should be of good quality and they should be affordable. Affordable here means that the price of the electric appliances should be based on the quality of that product. It should not be too much which is not affordable by the customer. That is the right of the customer. Then the next thing included here is affordable and fair price. Fair here means that the company should put the price of its electric appliances in comparison with the price of electrical appliances of other companies. It should not vary too much. So that is called as fair price. So first right of the customer is to ensure high quality product at affordable and fair price. Now the second right given to the customer is related to good service, ethical conduct, and courtesy to the customers. So here under this right, it is the right of the customer to expect as well as to get good after sales services from the company. That is the right of the customer. Good ethical conduct should be practiced by the companies. That means whatever has been promised to the customer at the time when he was purchasing that particular product of the company, that promise should be implemented in practice. If they are saying that 5 years free service will be provided on the product, the company should ensure that the customer gets 5-year maintenance free maintenance service. So that is their second right. And courtesy to the customer. Courtesy means that whenever someone is representing the company for the customer, or whenever customer is contacting the company for any type of service, at that time courtesy should be displayed by the representatives of the company. They should talk to the customer, or they should behave with the customer in a decent manner or in a proper manner. It should not happen that once the product has been sold, their responsibility is over and they are not behaving properly with the customer. That is not expected, because a right has been given in Companies Act also to the customer. So these are the two main rights given under this act to the customers. Now there are 3 rights given to the society at large also under corporate governance. Now these rights are, first right is to ensure contribution to the society in most deserving areas. When we were discussing the board of directors and we were discussing about the committees which are mandatory, which are compulsory under Companies Act to be prepared or to be constituted by every listed company. Under that, one mandatory committee is called as CSR committee or Corporate Social Responsibility Committee. Under this, now it is mandatory under law that a particular portion of the profit of the company should be invested in the betterment of the society. So that is called as the Corporate Social Responsibility Fund of the company. So the first right of the society at large is that to ensure contribution to the society in most deserving manner. Now, under Corporate Social Responsibility Fund, the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee, it decides that which are the areas where they will be helping the society in, whether they will be helping the society in cleanliness drive, or whether they will be helping the society in educational drives of the children, or whether they will be helping the society in controlling pollution, or whether they will be going for tree plantation. All these things they have to mention in their corporate responsibility, social responsibility fund or practices, that these are the areas where the CSR fund will be utilized of the company for the betterment of the society. Now, the next right given to the society at large is to ensure fairness in all dealings through careful assessment and scrutiny of professional services. Now, here it should not happen that all the practices are on paper and they are not implemented at ground. Whatever has been put on paper, that the CSR fund of this company will be utilized in these 3-4 services or 3-4 facilities, then those should be implemented in ground also, because it can be scrutinized. Last right given to the society at large is to ensure maintenance as well as continuous improvement. Now, it is the duty, it is the responsibility of the company which has taken up activity, say activity related to tree plantation. Now, it should not stop at planting the saplings only, but the company has to make a provision that how they will be doing maintenance for this plantation. That means how they will be carrying out the weeding out process for the plantation, or how they will be watering these plants. So that will go under maintenance part. So not only that, it is not a one-time activity, that okay, the company has put it in its CSR practice that they will be planting 500 saplings in a particular area. They have planted 500 saplings and their responsibility is over. It is not so in CSR committee. It is not so in the CSR committee. What is expected by the CSR committee is that they have to take care of the maintenance part also. That once you have planted 500 saplings, it is your responsibility, it is you who have to see to it that more and more plants are protected and they are saved. So that, so for saving these plants, what all activities are essential? Say, after 15 days of this sapling planting of sapling, weeding out activity, that means unnecessary grass which grows near that particular sapling or which will curtail the growth of that particular sapling, that should be weeded out. So who will be carrying out that weeding out activity? Who will be carrying out the watering activity, say for 1 year, 2 year or 3 year, till the plant becomes sustainable, that it can take the water from the its root becomes so strong that it can take water from the ground. So till a period of that, it can be say 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year, whatever that period, who will be carrying out these maintenance activities. So that is, these are the rights given to the society at large. Society is given a right that they can go for scrutiny of a particular company also. They can file a complaint that this particular company has started taking up this activity as their CSR activity, but they have not completed the activity successfully. They have stopped in between before the success could be completed. So these are the rights, the general 3 rights given to the society at large. Now there are 4 general rights given to the employees under corporate governance, and these rights we will be discussing. First right is to provide all employees opportunity for work and adequate facilities for development of their abilities and potential through proper training. That is the first right given to the employee. So the employees who are working in the organization or in the company, they are having a right that equal opportunity should be given, or opportunity to work. Once a person is appointed in the organization, it is his right that he should be provided with work which he will be completing, which he will be performing, which he will be doing. So that is to provide all employees opportunity to work and adequate facilities for development of their abilities. If a person is sorry, if a person is lacking in some ability, the company should make a provision that those people who are lacking in some abilities, they should be provided training too, so that they can increase their abilities or update their skills. So that is the first right given to the employees under the corporate governance. Now the second right given under corporate governance is to ensure acknowledgement and appreciation for good work. That is the right. If a person is performing good in the organization, it is his right that he should get appreciation from the company, or his performance should be acknowledged by the company. That is his right. Now, why these rights are given to the employees? Because all these rights directly contribute to the efficiency of the employee, as well as it increases the productivity of the organization at home. Because if these rights are given to the employees will be happy with their work, more satisfied with their work. And it is a old saying for the management, or in management there is a old saying which goes like, a happy employee is always a productive employee. Now here, happy employee is different from satisfied employee. Here, as you might have studied the difference between customer satisfaction and customer delight. Now, customer delight is the next step of customer satisfaction. Similarly, employee satisfaction next level is happiness of employee. So happy employee is the next stage of, or is the advanced stage of satisfied employee. So that saying says that happy employee is always a productive employee. If you provide these rights to your employees, there are more chances that your employees will increase their efficiency. And if their efficiency is increased, automatically it will improve the productivity of the company. That is why these rights are being provided under corporate governance to the employees. So the second right was to ensure acknowledgement and appreciation for good work. Because if the employees are not recognized for their performance, one time they may ignore that a person, for example, one employee who was given a particular target, he exceeded that target. He was expecting a pat on the back by his manager, but that didn't happen. That particular employee, who was a very good employee or very talented employee, he ignored that, and next day again he exceeded the target. Again he thought that his manager will appreciate his efforts, but that was not done. On the third day, again the employee exceeded his target. Again he thought that his efforts will be recognized, his efforts will be acknowledged by the manager, but again that didn't happen. If these things continue, we may say that employee are human beings, they are not machines. When we talk about human beings, we also know that human beings are having feelings, they are having emotions, they are having certain beliefs. So all these are parts of human beings. As a human being, the employee may feel after third day that why he is putting extra effort to exceed the target. If his efforts are not recognized, are not appreciated, are not acknowledged by the company, and next day that talented employee will see to it that he did not, or he do not exceed the target. So this way, the efficiency of a great employee, a good employee, will start coming down. That will automatically reduce or negatively affect the growth of the company. So to make the employee more happy, to make the employee more productive, this right is to be taken care by the organization. This right of ensuring acknowledgement and ensuring appreciation should be recognized. Next, now the next right given to the employee is related to encourage and facilitate increased association of the employee in decisions related to their work spheres. Now we have been talking about that who takes the decision. The topmost body takes the decision, and topmost body is the group of directors or board of directors. They formulate the policy, they prepare the strategy, and they give instructions to the management how the management can implement the strategy prepared by the board of director in an effective manner. That is what we have discussed so far. But now we are saying that the third right given to the employee is to encourage and facilitate increased association of employees in decisions related to their work spheres. Now here, the basic difference is, here we are not talking about policy making. Here we are not talking about strategy making. Here we are talking about that if a person is working on a particular job, on a particular machine for say 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years, or maybe more than that. So that person knows about his work more than the board of director sitting in the board office. So here a right should be given to the employee that if he can give a suggestion related to his work only. So here the basic difference is, topmost body, it prepares strategies for the whole company, it implements strategy for the whole company. But when we talk about individual worker, individual employee, here a right can be given to the individual employee that if he feels that if a process is slightly changes his work process, or his the machine on which he is working, if that particular certain modification is done in a particular machine, it will improve the quality of the product, or it will improve the efficiency of the machine. If such suggestions are given by the employees, and after checking, after verifying that suggestion, if it can be implemented in the organization, then it will definitely help the employee to make him more happier in the organization. So the third right expects that certain amount of autonomy, certain amount of authority should be provided to the employee related to their work only. It is not, we are not talking here about related to the whole company. If a person is working at a particular work on a particular machine, if he feels that certain changes are done in work process, it will be beneficial. That suggestion, that his view can be verified by the manager. And if manager also feels that yes, if that suggestion is implemented, it will be beneficial for the company, then that suggestion should be implemented. And that is the third right which can be given to the, or which should be given to the employee. The fourth and final right which is given to the employee under corporate governance is related to provide best possible conditions of employment through fair wages and working environment. So it talks about fair wages. Now, when we talk about wage, we all know that wage is remuneration. It is the salary provided to the employee in return to his efforts done for the company for a period of say last 1 month. So that is called as wage, that is also called as salary. Here we will not talk about what is the difference between the term wage and what is the difference between the two terms, what is wage and what is salary. Earlier that differentiation was done. Now most of it is expected, it is generally accepted view that more or less it is same, because the concept earlier it was wage, now it is called as salary. So we will consider wage as here. So salary should be fair. Now there are, when this particular concept of wage was set up after independence in 1948, a act related to wages, that how much wages should be provided to the employees of an organization, was passed by the Indian government, and that act is called as Minimum Wages Act 1948. Under this Minimum Wage Act, the definition of wage was given. So that definition was different. So we will not go to that definition of wage as we are now in 2020. But three differentiation or three types of wages were mentioned in the act, which we should be knowing. First wage was minimum wage. Second wage was called as living wage, and the third wage was called as fair wage. So minimum wage means minimum wage or minimum salary should be provided to the employee. As per law, it was compulsory for all the organizations. And under the Minimum Wages Act, the wages of various category of industry was fixed in 1948, that this wage will be given. That is the minimum wage. Now, minimum wage was fixed up so that the employee can take care of the basic necessity of his family. And at that time, the basic necessities were food, clothing, and shelter. Three basic necessity he can take care of, so that minimum wages should be provided. Later on, when the time went, after that, it was realized that not only minimum wage, but the employees should be provided with living wage. Now, living wage, apart from taking care of the basic necessity, that is food, clothing, and shelter, it also talks about taking care the basic or nominal education of the children of the workmen. So the wage should be enough so that the employee can take care of his basic necessities, as well as he can take care of the basic education of his children. That was under living wage. Then came the next concept, which is called as fair wage. Fair wage here means wage at par. Now, wage at par or fair wage here means that if a company is into, say, pharmaceutical industry, then the company should be providing salary or wages to its employee. What the salary is provided by one pharmaceutical company, it should be more or less similar to the other pharma company. Now, for the definition part of fair wages, it takes care of not only the basic necessities or not only the say living type of necessities which were covered under living wage, but it is more than that, which take cares of a employee as a human being. Whatever is essential to protect the self-esteem or the self-respect of a person in a society, that type of salary should be provided to the employee. In, say, if we talk about in a particular city, there are 10 pharma companies. 9 pharma companies are providing the entry level, 30,000 is their entry level salary. So the other company which is there should see to it that their entry salary should be more or less on the same lines. So that salary is called as fair wage. So that is related to the rights of the employee to provide. The last right which we had just discussed was related to provide the best possible conditions of employment through fair wages and working environment. Best possible conditions of employment. Now, it can vary from company to company. Now there are on news channel also, when last year or yes, when last year our prime minister visited the Google office. At that particular time, it was shown on TV, on various news channels, that and a detailed information related to working environment at Google was shared, that how the working environment in Google is, what are the various facilities which are provided to the employees. They can work from home, or they can work from the company cafeteria, or they are given enough freedom that they can do complete their target, complete their work process from anywhere, say in the office. Lounges are provided, so there they have shown that they did not have the common desk and chair type of seating arrangement for the employees, as it is not a manufacturing organization. So they do not have that product line and operation line and all those things. But in other services company, what we have a general idea that chairs will be there, tables will be there, or cubicles will be there, and in those cubicles the employees will be sitting and they will be doing their work. But in Google, they have made the working environment in such a manner that you will not find the